Hi, my name is Ronnie Walker, and we're going to discuss purchasing your first Rottweiler puppy. So if you are new to this game, the first thing you want to do is probably get yourself a book. Read up on the standards, understand what the Rottweiler was bred for, understand the Rottweiler's history. After you do that, and you probably then want to go to either your local Rottweiler club in your area, or like I had to do many years ago, about 30 years ago, I had to contact AKC, American Kennel Club, and then I told them what state I lived in, and they connected me with the Golden State Rottweiler Club here in Southern California. Once I contacted the Golden State Rottweiler Club, I was then given a few breeders that had puppies either on the ground or puppies that were soon to be born, and I went and started looking around for my puppies. So the first thing you want to do, even when you're starting to look at your breeders, now that you've gone through AKC, you found your local club, and you're talking to your local club, when you look at these breeders, what you want to do now is understand the paperwork that they may have for their dogs. Okay, a reputable breeder should have done several types of health clearances. Every dog has some type of issues in their background. Be it a Rottweiler to a standard poodle, there's always something. With Rottweilers, we're concerned about hip dysplasia, heart murmurs, eyes, and elbows. Okay, so with that being said, there's a test that we will do, and the paperwork is then turned into OFA, Orthopedic Foundation for Animals. And when you get your paper, when you do all four of the tests, you'll get what is called a chick number. Now, chick number means that you have done the four tests that have been required, and it looks pretty much like this. So the paperwork, the chick number will tell you that the owner has done the test, but it doesn't tell you the results. If you want results, you have to then ask for the breeder's individual paperwork, because for every test that you do, OFA sends you a specific paper saying that you passed or you didn't pass or whatever the case may be. So in my case, I'm looking at the paperwork I did on my dog's eyes, which said there was no indication of any eye disease or eye problem. I've got paperwork here for my elbows, which if you look closely says his elbows are normal. I've got paperwork here on my dog's hips, which if you look closely says my dog has excellent hips. So the individual paperwork, and of course I have my heart paperwork, which says I had an echocardiogram, which is different than going to a cardiologist and just having him take a stethoscope and listen to the heart. Okay, both will pass, but the echocardiogram will let you pretty much know if that dog has a heart murmur or not, and that's pretty much what we're trying to do these days, because you don't want to buy a dog and then you want to do all this training and have fun with the dog and then you find out he has heart murmurs. Okay, so the paperwork is very important. That paperwork to a new owner is probably a little bit more important than even the pedigree, because you'll look at the pedigree and you won't really understand what you're looking at, other than there's a bunch of dogs with titles under their name. Now, have your breeder explain the paperwork, because you could be purchasing a dog and he has a long history of conformation champions. Conformation, the type of dog shows you see on TV, your Westminsters, your Eukanumas. It's like a beauty contest, okay? Those dogs will probably have a little bit better temperament because they've been bred and trained that way than a dog that's been doing a lot of German shows, or what we call Schutzen work, okay? Now, a lot of dogs will have Schutzen in their background. Some dogs, all their work may be Schutzen, but understand, when you buy a puppy from a dog whose background is strictly Schutzen, you may be getting a different temperament dog, because that dog is, Schutzen means protection dog, so Schutzen is technically protection training. There's three parts to Schutzen. Okay, there's obedience, there's the bite work, and then there is tracking, okay? So you could be getting a dog with just a slightly different temperament, but your dogs are all going to need training anyway. So another thing you want to look out for is on that paperwork with the chick number, it will also say other tests. So you want to see if there's been other tests that are done, because right now most of the Rottweiler clubs are recommending that their breeders test for a disease called JLPP, and that acronym stands for juvenile laryngeal paralysis polyneuropathy, JLPP for short. So this affects puppies from 3 months to 1 year. Your puppy will have weak rear legs, which will eventually affect the front legs. The puppy will start to choke when he eats, when he gets excited. He'll have trouble breathing, and he can catch pneumonia. Eventually, the puppy dies between 3 months and a year, and I've been told it's a pretty horrible death for a puppy. So you want to make sure, if nothing else, that your breeder has tested, asked to see the paperwork. If for some reason he doesn't have the paperwork, if you can always go to the OFA website and run the dog, and you can see exactly everything the dog's been cleared for. Okay, so gotta follow my notes here. So you found your breeder, and I will say this: do not look for breeders on Craigslist, websites, pets or pet stores. Those people that have to sell their dogs via pet stores, the internet, they're having difficulty selling their puppies, and you got to wonder why. That's not to say you can't go on the internet to look up various breeders' websites to look at the quality dogs that they have. I have a website. Most breeders have websites, so you can pretty much look at the dogs that your particular breeder is selling. Okay, I talked about understanding the standard. Realize in height for females, you're looking from 22 to 25 inches in height, and the males 24 to 27 inches in height. Now, very, very important. Too often time, I run into people walking dogs, and I may say, wow, that's a very nice looking puppy. Then they correct me, say, oh, it's not a puppy, it's a 4-year-old female. It's a 5-year-old female. So if I have just mistaken your 4 to 5-year-old female for a puppy, the dog is undersized. So make sure as you're purchasing your puppy, you want to see what the parents look like. Okay, you want to see what the parents look like. If you don't like what the parents look like, you're probably not going to like what the puppies look like. So now that you picked your breeder, make sure you go see these puppies between the ages of 4 weeks and 5 weeks. Because it's been my opinion, and a few other people share this opinion, that when you see a puppy between 4 weeks and 5 weeks of age, you're actually looking at a little tiny replica of what you're going to get as an adult. So you're going to be looking for that straight top line, that broad head, that muscled neck, the thick bone. Okay, I like my top lines to be straight from the bottom of the neck to the end of the tail. Okay, some puppies or some dogs, that top line will be straight and it kind of slopes off toward the rear legs. It's called a sloping croup. Nothing wrong with a sloping croup. I just prefer a straight top line from head to tail. Okay, so look at that puppy, because after that 5th week, you get into the 6th week, the 7th week, you'll start to get into what we call the ugly stages of a puppy, which basically every puppy goes through, but things are changing. The head becomes domey because it's growing. That straight top line will start to seesaw, high in the rear, high in the front, high in the rear, because the dog is growing. They don't grow level. They kind of teeter like a seesaw, okay? So that's what you start to see if you don't go make your puppy choices until the 6th, 7th, or 8th week, okay? You're starting to catch the puppy in the puppy stages as opposed to that really nice stage when they were 4 or 5 weeks old. So that's why I recommend choosing your puppy at that time. When you pick up your puppy, your breeder will have had probably at least 3 sets of the puppy shots done, okay? maybe 4. So so when you take your puppy home, you have to continue with the shots. After the 4th shot, have what we call a titer test. Titer test measures the resistance your dog has to parvo. Now, if he's had all his parvo shots, he'll have a good test. I had a big male one time, a big puppy, and I had to get a second set of parvo shots because my vet said it was the titer test was too low. Okay, so you want to do this stuff before taking your dog out, and I don't recommend doing a whole lot of some do's and don'ts. No dog parks. Don't take your puppy around other dogs. Keep your puppy off grass because grass can carry certain diseases. You can get parvo in the grass. Okay, your females can get vaginitis in the grass. So I walk my puppies in the street. Okay, they just don't stay in my backyard because socialization, especially with people, very important. Okay, you want your Rottweiler to like people. You don't want to be one of those people that have to cross the street every time you walk your dog because your dog is so vicious he can't be around people. I take my dog, my secret now, I take my puppies to Starbucks. Okay, because in Starbucks, a couple things gonna happen. I'm gonna have a nice cup of coffee. I'm gonna sit there in front of Starbucks with my little puppy, and everyone, quote me, everyone likes petting a cute puppy that looks like a little bitty bear. Everybody that walks in Starbucks wants to pet your puppy. Let them do that. It gets your dog socialized to people where your dog realizes, people are friendly. Now, I tell people all the time, you don't have to get your dog protection trained. You don't have to do a lot of crazy. Rottweilers are automatically, instinctively protective. They will always protect your property. They will always protect you if they sense danger. All that protection training is a waste of money since you've already got a dog that's automatically going to do that. So try not to do that. Let me see. Going over notes here, we talked about the CHIC number. CHIC number stands CHIC acronym for Canine Health Information Center. Okay. Get your dog obedience trained. They're big dogs, okay? Sometimes they can be hard to handle and have a mind of their own. As a new novice, don't get hung up on German born. I run into people all the time and they see a beautiful Rottweiler. First thing they want to ask, is he from Germany? Is he from Germany? You know, Germany is where we started, we originated from, but the Americans have been breeding beautiful Rottweilers for decades. I have never had to go to Germany to buy my Rottweiler. We have some great Rottweilers out there. Now, if you look at everybody's pedigree is going to end up in Germany somewhere, somehow, okay? But unless the breeder tells you that he just imported his female or the male from Germany, you're buying really an American made Rottweiler. You know, we have some great Rottweilers. There was, back when I first started doing this about 30 years ago, there was a little difference between German and American Rotts because Germans like their dogs shorter and squattier, and Americans like to breed their Rotts a little bit taller. Still muscled, but taller, okay? So don't get hung up on German dogs. Protection training don't need. Talked about Schutzen. Let's look at the standard a little bit. Okay, so your standard for your Rottweiler, the depth of chest should be 50% of the dog's height. The height is measured from the ground to the top of the shoulders, right below the neck, right below the neck. It's called the withers. You want good bone and muscle, sufficient muscle. The Rottweiler should look powerful in appearance, dark eyes, scissor bite. Now, scissor bite's important. It's not an overbite, and it's not an underbite. If you look at a pair of scissors overlap like this, that's the way Rottweiler's bite should look, okay? The top coming over the bottom, the scissor bite. Straight top line. We talked about the straight top line, broad head between the ears, and a well-muscled neck, okay? If you're purchasing a Rottweiler, you're going to be looking, dogs are expensive. Average Rottweiler is going to run you between $1,000 and $2,500. That's the average, okay? Now, if you run across that breeder who's selling a dog for more than $2,500, I'm sure he has his reasons. You know, ask him why he should be able to explain to you why his dog should cost more than the other dog, but that's what you're going to pay for. The day of the $400, $450, $500 Rottweiler, those days are gone, okay? If you do find a dog at that price, question it. Question it. You don't want to be buying your dog from any backyard breeder, because oftentimes a backyard breeder, the only thing he's going to be able to show you is a pedigree, okay? And I'm not going to say any dog can get a pedigree, but having a pedigree and not doing health clearances, not be able to explain the lineage of your dog, you don't know what you're purchasing. Okay, if he's done no health clearances, you can buy a puppy, you spend that $400, $500 for a puppy, and in 3 to 4 months you've got hip dysplasia. Now you're paying doctor bills for the rest of your life for a dog that's going to need some type of medication because he's got bad hips. So understand what the health clearances will tell you and what you can be looking for. Anybody that does not have the health clearances, keep going. Keep going, because reputable breeders have done the health clearances. They should be able to pull out the paperwork that I just showed you to show you every individual test that the dog has done and passed, okay? The chick number only lets you know that the chick number's a start. It tells you that he's actually done the 4 tests, but then you have to get the individual tests that will actually tell you, oh, excellent hips, good hips, normal elbows, no defects in the heart, good eyes. That's what the individual paperwork will tell you. So remember, stay off the websites, or I should say the Craigslist, the computers. Stay away from the puppy stores, pet stores. Stay away from the puppy mills. Do your homework, do your research, contact your local Rottweiler club. They will help you get a good dog, okay? Good hunting. Thank you.